Welcome to Romance Book Masters. It's your girl Lollipop here with Kitty Boo.
Hi all.
And today our topic is favorite crazy family members. Now, there's many ways we can construe this little topic. It could be crazy as in literally crazy. It could be trifling. It could be killers, the killer, the thief. You know, there's many different ways this can be construed for crazy, but there's some real good books on this list, and we're excited to talk to you about them. Yes. So Kitty is going to kick it off with our first book.
So I am starting off with The Daughter-in-Law by Jordan Silver. So this book, it's the main characters are Vanessa and Damien. And Damien, you know, he's in the army, and his mother loves him so very much. So his mother loves him. She's a smothering mother. So, you know, the book kind of starts off, you know, with them preparing for the holidays, for Thanksgiving dinner. And the mother, she's like, no, we're not having your family here for the holidays. So they argue about that. He wins, and the family comes over for Thanksgiving. And she ends up insulting the daughter-in-law like so much that the daughter-in-law threatens to pull out her gun. It's hilarious. But, you know, and I must interject along with the crazy thing. So Damien also has two sisters, and one of his sisters has a crush on him. Yes, you heard me right. One of his sisters has a crush on him. So she's jealous of her sister-in-law. So they don't get along for that very fact because the sister wants to bone the brother, essentially.
Ew.
Okay. Yes, very. So let's keep in mind some of the things that the mother does to like show that she's crazy. So she doesn't want to even share her son with the in-laws. So Vanessa's parents come to visit like between Thanksgiving and Christmas, just because the mother-in-law is giving like the daughter so much grief. Her mother is like, okay, let me come out and visit to see if I can help alleviate some of the stress of what you're doing with your mother-in-law. So they're all at dinner, and she mentions that they're coming to her house in New York for the holidays, for Christmas, and the mother has a fit. She's like, you're leaving me for Christmas? Such a precious holiday. How could you break up my family for the holidays? Then she's like, you know what? I'm sure. Then she turns to her daughter-in-law's mother and is like, I'm sure you guys won't mind if they come a few days later after Christmas instead to come visit you. And the son is like, no, that's it. We're going to their house for Christmas. We're not going to say anything about it. So as they're preparing to go to New York for the holiday, they get a call from the hospital. So they rush to the hospital because something's wrong with the mother. The mother has attempted suicide. So they have her on call for a 72-hour suicide watch because she's threatened to kill herself to make them cancel their trip.
Trifling.
Yes. But the daughter-in-law is not having any of it. She is like threatening to catch this flight to New York City by herself. And she's pregnant at the time, and she's like recently like announced it. So, you know, she tells the husband, like, me and the baby, we're going to New York. So of course he hops on a plane along with them and he goes to New York. So she like calls them like all day Christmas Day. They're trying to have dinner. She's calling on the phone. It's crazy and ridiculous at the same time.
I would have blocked her.
Like, can you imagine? Like, you have a spouse in the military, and your mother-in-law is telling him that he needs to have his checks deposited into her account so she can keep up with the money. Yes. This mother is trifling. Watch out for these type of mother-in-law. Exactly.
And wow.
So, wow. As you move on, you like move on like from the trifling to the crazy. So like by now, like the son is starting to get really upset with the mother. So the mother has like previously broken into their house and stolen the wife's grandmother's ring and a pair of her panties.
What?
And
What?
yes, why did she steal the panties? Because she gets someone with the same hair color as the daughter-in-law to put on the panties and pose with the man. And you don't see anything but the man and these panties in a booty in the picture.
The hell? This woman is nuts.
She's absolutely crazy. So this really makes the son cut her off, and like they're not gonna have anything to do with the babe, do with them. So fast forward to the daughter-in-law's in labor. She's getting ready to have a baby, and some kind of way the mother-in-law knows one of the nurse's assistants, and she talks her into helping her change the baby's name on the birth certificate to her name.
Are you serious? They had a girl?
They had a girl. And the mother-in-law wanted her named after herself.
Is that woman stupid? She can lose her job for that.
Oh, she did, yes.
I hope it was worth it.
She was in training to be a nurse, and this was like her practical.
Oh, well, she failed.
She failed. She so failed.
I hope it was worth it.
I mean, and she just gets crazier and crazier. They put her out of the house because he owned the house that the mansion they lived in, he inherited it. So, he puts her out of the house so they can move towns. And like a couple of weeks later, like they're having a party, and outside he like sees her in the woods, and she had a gun on her. So mama is crazy. But overall, this is like a really good book, and I just like highlighted some of the craziness of the family.
Oh, I mean, the drama is real.
The drama was really real.
Heavy warning on the crazy sister with the whole incest love. She needs to let that go.
Yes.
All right. My first book is Where Love is Found by Tia Rain. I want to make sure I say that. Tia. It could be Tia Rain. And we have this one. This is a heavy book. It's a great read with some craziness, but I want to put that warning. There was some child sexual abuse that happened to her and all these things. I want to put that out there. The incest, I'm talking about incest book. It was like, by her uncle. So I'm putting that out there. They don't go into detail, but it did happen that to her. And of course, we all know these things affect children differently. And for Charlize, who's the main character, she, even though this happened to her as a child, she did grow up and have, I would say, a more than healthy, sexual appetite. So she loves sex, like sex is her thing, but she doesn't, she only has flings. She doesn't stay with people for longer than 6 months and things like that. So when she meets Jackson Keller, all things go out the window. And this one is really interesting too, because not only do we have the crazy family, but we have the friend who's also crazy, and crazy in a killer type of way, because on top of that, he's in a position of power being a police officer. He's a police officer, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, he was a police officer.
Yeah. So the fact that he's in that position of power, it puts another nuance on that piece. But that's just one part of the story. The real part of the story, we're talking about mamas. Now, as we've discussed in the past, I think this woman is going neck and neck with the mother in your story, because
she was worse.
Oh yeah, she's worse. Yes. Now she didn't bring no gun. Outside of the gun situation, she wins hands down.
Right.
This woman been crazy since she was young. How you gonna get knocked up by your sister's husband? Right? Number one, seduced your sister's husband, get pregnant, had a baby.
Well, he was her boyfriend then, and her.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
They still ended up getting married and having children. So, yeah. Okay, fine. Sister's boyfriend. And then you're going to tell your daddy that one of his friends molested you. And then you mad because your dad didn't react the way you wanted him to, or the way she didn't know that her dad didn't react the way that she wanted him to. And because she was mad about that, she let her brother molested her daughter as a way of getting back at the grandparents. But the grandparents didn't know that the daughter was being molested. So how are you getting back to people when people didn't know? Oh, because, she was quote unquote molested. She let her daughter be molested. But in actuality, she lied because she was interested in the father's friend. The father's friend wanted nothing to do with her because she was a child. She was 15, 16. Mm-hmm. He wanted nothing to do with her. What she didn't know was that the father actually went up there with her brothers to kill this man for messing with his daughter. Come to find out, man ain't never touched the daughter. He almost killed that man. Mm-hmm. And, when you find out all this situation that, the grandparents didn't know, the rest of the family didn't know all this stuff was going on. Like there was some things where folks was like, things didn't add up. She looked a little bit like the uncle, the aunt's husband. They had the same hair texture and stuff like that. So there was little things, but nobody knew all this stuff was happening. But this woman is so crazy that all this stuff come out. She's dating a pastor. And then when after all this stuff come out, where the family was like, you did what? You let what happen? You brought your daughter who was being raped to go get abortions?
Multiple
abortions? Thinking that condoning this? And then you think your pastor boo is going to be okay? Let's go back to Florida. He looked at her like, you go, not with me, you not. Like she really thought she did nothing wrong. Had me here in my feelings. It's a great book. And Jackson busted everything wide open. That's what he was a strong man. He had her back 900. And then the uncle had the nerve to show up to the family get together. I'm like, who invited you?
Right?
The trifling mama invited him, remember?
Well, I
thought it was her mother that invited him.
I thought the grandpa invited him.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Grandpa didn't know, though. Again, they didn't know none of this.
Yeah.
And none of it wouldn't have came out if it wasn't for Jackson. Jackson was like, Jackson was about to beat his behind. I wish they had let him because he was.
Get a couple more licks in.
I mean, for real, I wanted him to stomp his throat. I was so angry, but it was such a good read. When you get in your feelings, like, I feel like a good read, when you are so in your feelings that you're ready to jump through the pages of the book to fight people, the author got you in your feelings. Like you feel for the characters. You are in, you're on your character's side, and not like jump in the book and fight somebody for being annoying or stupid, but jump in the book and fight for somebody because you are in your feelings over what the character has gone through, and you feel justified in beating some behind.
Or when you're like, I'll like the match.
Right? I'll hide the body. Let's figure this out. What they say on Law and Order, feed it to the pigs. Let's go to a hog farm. Let's get this done. But I was in my feelings with that book. I loved it though. It's such a good read. I highly recommend. There's even more shenanigans and tomfoolery that we didn't even talk about. But
I know I've reread it so many times. I may go read it again once we're done.
Such a good book. And on Kindle Unlimited, just in case you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, it is right there for you, which is great. Gotta love Kindle Unlimited. You want to hit us with your next book, Kitty?
My next book is an anthology. It's called Kyle, Jack, and Ryan by Leanne Ashers. So since we're doing the crazy family focus of it, I'll only be focusing on Kyle's part of the book. And it just so happens that his story is the first in the book. So Kyle is the president of a motorcycle gang. And, Crystal is someone that works for one of the companies that they own. These are like the motorcycle gangs that you love. Like they're super rich because they own like every business in town, just about. They have a jet. Yep, a private jet. It's beautiful. So Crystal works for one of their companies. I believe Crystal works for the Garage. And so they've noticed on the security cameras that she has been sleeping in her car behind the business. And mind you, at the time, Crystal is like a good 4 months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So we come to find out that Crystal is on the run from her husband, and that, she grew up poor, and her parents were super trifling because they let their 16-year-old be quote unquote courted by a 26-year-old rich man in their town. So when she was 18, they married her off in trade for the husband, like setting them up in a really nice apartment, taking them out of the trailer, and like basically giving them like a stipend and like setting them up financially. So he's not a good husband. He like starts beating her. And when like the abuse gets very bad, she figures out she's pregnant. And so she's like, she had to go on a run to save her baby. So she went from Maryland to Texas driving. And this is like the town that she has settled, that she's resting in.
Mm-hmm.
So once they figure out that she has been sleeping in the in her car, Kyle creates an apartment in his basement for her, like because there's like a full unit in his house, has like an in-suite. So he fixes it up for her and he moves her down there. And the romance starts to begin between the two of them. It's kind of like a love at first sight on his side type situation. And she eventually like tells him her story. So as soon as he finds out, he calls up his motorcycle gang buddies and they hop on the jet and they fly from Texas to Maryland to go and kill the husband. So they kill the husband and then they go to the parents to go and beat up the parents. But before he beats them up, because the father seemed like really concerned and he wasn't like expecting for the father to be concerned since like she was in the situation that she was in. So he calls her up and, she's asking her about the father and she's like, I think there's hope for my dad. He's just been like, beaten down by my like overbearing mother, basically is what she's saying. Mm-hmm. Oh, and when they go into the parents' apartment, as soon as the mother figure out that Kyle knows where Crystal is, like she's trying to call her son-in-law to let him know that the daughter has been found, but he's already dead by then, so there's no getting in touch with him. And on the way out, he pays one of her neighbors to go and beat her up. And if the neighbor sends some pictures of subsequent beatings throughout the month and the rest of the year, he's gonna send her more money. The neighbor's like, I don't like her anyway. I'll be happy to do it. Yes. So he takes the father with him and he sets the father up. And the minute like the father gets the daughter alone, like he starts asking about if she inherited the money from the dead husband. And
how he know the husband did?
I forget how he figured that out. I'm assuming the mother told him.
But how she know
that he's not supposed to be in contact with?
Oh, well, he about to get
So the father proves himself to be trifling too, because it was just a ruse to get there so he could figure out how to get the wife there too. Mm-hmm. So the daughter like immediately puts the dad out. And somehow, the mother had to have been like waiting like around the corner or something, because they both show up in their house together, going through her purse, trying to rob her. And then the trifling people start shooting at them. Yes, the mother and father. So they get locked in the pantry and, they get dealt with by the MC as a whole. They come pick them up later on and take them to like the little shed in the back of the compound.
They stupid though. I'm like, if they killed old dude, you didn't think that they would kill you too?
Right. And she's showing up by herself with one gun.
They're not very smart. Not very smart.
No, they were not.
All right. My next book is a favorite of mine. We've talked about it here before. I hate trifling people, but when you have several trifling family members, it makes it even harder. And yes, I'm talking about Dreammaker by Christian Ashley. I had to bring it back.
Which one? Oh, Dreammaker.
Yes, I had to bring it back. Oh my God. How you gonna have a trifling brother and mama? Brother trying and daddy. So we've talked, I'm gonna link the video to our review of Dreammaker because man, it goes in depth into it a little bit more, but whoo child, like talk about being a genius, but hit with the short stick when it comes to family. Like this girl could have did something a long time ago and not ended up on the pole. Like this is how when you hear about people and you cannot tell there's like everybody ends up in different places in their life from experiences, and a lot of times it's because of trifling family members. Like there was no reason for this genius to be on a pole.
She could have been working at NASA or something.
NASA, Tesla, any of them. But she ends up, because her trifling family members, every time she saved up money to go to school, or she was supposed to go, remember she had gotten scholarships and offerings, and she had to not go to school because she had to work because her trifling older brother is in and out of jail. And she had to help because mom was like, you need to help your brother and take care of your brother. And da-da-da-da-da. He the older brother. Why is she taking care of him? He in jail, come call her up. I need you to do something for me. She meets up, somebody giving her a bag of foolishness. And she's like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't want this. They're like, oh, hold it till so-and-so. She looks in the bag. How you going? She tells her daddy what's in the bag. And the daddy gonna rob her for it. First he was like, oh, let's sell it. Let's sell it. I'm like, you don't know, are you insane? Why would you do that? And then when she said, no, I'm not going to sell it because her daddy is a drug addict, he robs her and takes it and then has the nerve to try to blackmail the drug kingpin for what was in the bag.
Oh, don't forget her apartment. I mean, that just made it even
destroyed her apartment. And she loved that day. She took so much love and care into making it her own. And she had all these little like not necessarily custom pieces, but individual pieces that she put together that she loved in her place. Like it took her a long time to get it to where it was. And he tossed her entire apartment, her own father, looking for drugs. And this gun that supposedly killed the cop.
Didn't he even destroy her clothes?
Yes. I guess he was mad that he couldn't find the drugs. So he tore up her clothes too. I'm like, was he high when he did this? Because he had to.
Right.
And then her trifling mama was like, so you can't do one thing for your brother? And I'm just like, excuse me? One thing? In a long list of things? I mean, the mother's so trifling, her own husband, the stepdaddy leaves her in the process.
Right, you're trifling when you do your child so wrong that your spouse leaves you. The spouse that is not the biological parent.
Right? And still wants a relationship with the kid. Don't want nothing to do with you. I left her, but I helped raise you. You mine, right. Basically. But man, oof. And then the brother had the nerve to be like, oh, I'm not dying for you. You better find it. Remember?
Yes.
He wouldn't say what was what because she went to go visit him in the jail, and he wouldn't explain what was in the bag and who was and all of this stuff. He was like, you just better find it, basically. And he's like, you owe me this. She don't owe you nothing. Nothing at all. It was a mess.
Such a mess.
So what's your next book?
Oh, before you end that one, don't forget how the mother had her supplement her income too.
That's true. That's why she didn't have money to go back to school. Helping with the brother in and out of prison. The mom always needed money. The dad, she didn't really give money to, but sometimes he would need help too. So he didn't end up on the street. Right. So of course she ended up on the pole. How else was she going to make quick money unless she became a hacker, where she doesn't like to do illegal things. She's like a goody two-shoe in that kind of standpoint.
Right.
It's crazy.
So my next book is Judge. It's part of the Black Wings MC series by Tegan Brooks. So the main characters are Judge and River. So Judge is a member of the Black Wings MC,
Mm-hmm.
and River is a traveling nurse, and she is actually originally from this town of Devil Springs, where this motorcycle gang is located. But she has been gone for like years and years. When she lived there, she was overweight. She was a teenager, and like her mother was known as like the crackhead of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was like that embarrassing like drug addict mother
Mm-hmm.
who did nothing but like torment her child growing up. So she made something of herself. She became a nurse. She left, and like she lost all this weight, and like she gets an assignment in her town, and she's like she didn't want to do it. But then she's like, well, it's only 3 months. I look completely different. It's on a different side of town. Like I can just lay low for 3 months, do the assignment, and then leave.
Mm-hmm.
So while she's there, the mother ends up seeing her while she's there. And the mother has the nerve to kind of try to bully her into giving her drugs, like in the parking lot of the hospital.
Please tell me she was like, hell no.
She was exactly like that. But then, like in a later scene, you see the mother like being brought in by ambulance because she's still trying to get herself some drugs. So she's brought in by the ambulance, and she is the daughter is the attending nurse. And the mother's like, oh, I'm in so much pain. And then she tells them the specific drug that she needs to be given for this pain. Yes, the specific drug. And the daughter's like, no, I'm not giving you that. And then, the doctor comes in and she tells the doctor, I need this particular drug, for my pain. And the doctor refuses to give it to her too. So she is like enraged. So what does the crazy crackhead do? Well, she's not a crackhead. That's not her drug of choice. What is the crazy
drug abuser?
Yeah, she's actually more of, I guess you would say, more of like a heroin addict.
Okay.
So her and her husband set the daughter's house on fire. They tried to kill her
because she wouldn't give her drugs.
Because she would not give her
drugs. How
drugs.
have they not ended up in jail?
So now, like, they're on the run. The police are like looking for him. Like, thank God for the neighbor, which is Judge, the hero in the book, was at home at the time that they set her house on fire, and he was able to get her out. She had passed out and everything. Like, she really could have died. Like, they were crazy. So he rescues her, and they're like looking for the mother and the stepfather. And the book really didn't explain if the deaths were accidental or on purpose, but a couple of people like were dying like in the mother's circle of like fentanyl poisoning, which the book explained is something that's used to cut heroin. And somehow like the hospital thought that she was the one that was giving them the drugs that had somehow the hospital thought that she was the one that was giving them the fentanyl. So she got let go from her job.
But they would have had to have evidence for that. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, they let her go. Like her agency dropped her and she was put on probation at the hospital. She couldn't go to work. And then the mother ends up dying of a fentanyl overdose. And so they're still like investigating her. Come to find out, like, someone connected to the stepfather was like doing it on purpose and trying to frame her to get her in trouble. It was crazy. But yeah, they were just nuts. So between the mother and the stepfather, just trifling and nuts.
And whoever he was connected to.
Yes. I think it was his son.
Because he didn't kill his father. He killed everybody else.
Yeah, the father died too of fentanyl poisoning.
So he had plans.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
But who would do that? How dare you not give me drugs from your job? I'm going to burn your house down.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense because they would have had to prove that she not only had access to... So the son, her stepbrother, where did he get the fentanyl from?
I forget where he got it from, but like the River, the main character, she was like explaining to the lawyer how, hospitals don't keep that grade of fentanyl. And she was like telling her like there's many different types of fentanyl that are used in different types of offices and situations. And she was like, hospitals don't carry that. So that was like part of the defense that got her off.
But not only that, the hospital. So it wasn't the hospital that accused her. It was the police that accused her.
Yeah.
That's okay. Because the hospital would have been, even the hospital should have been like, we don't carry that. She wouldn't even have access to that at the hospital.
Right. Well, that kind at the hospital.
Kind.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense. Like if they had, it sounds like a great book. I'm all for it, but I think I watch a little too many Law and Order to realize the holes in the story from the lawyer's perspective, from the DA's perspective, basically, because it's the DA that got the indictment.
Oh, and then there was like additional drama with like her brother. Like the mother was like so mean. Like the one person she had growing up was like her older brother. And she made it seem like he had betrayed her. And so the daughter no longer was talking to the older brother. Come to find out, the brother, he was in the military. He had been sending like all types of money back to the mother in order to care for the sister. And she was just drugging it all up.
But did he know his mother was a drug addict?
He didn't.
Okay. Because I was about to say, okay.
Wait a minute.
That's why he should have been going home and visiting.
Sure. No, I think whatever, he had some type of deal with the mother that he thought that she was being taken care of in spite of the fact that she was on drugs. I know.
Then that's where he went wrong. You don't send her money. He should have put money in the daughter's account.
Yeah. But she was like very much underage at this time. She was like, 14, 15.
But he could have still put money in her bank account.
He could have.
Mm-hmm.
But
where she would have had access to it.
That's not what he did.
No, he sent it to a drug addict. Or he sent it to a drug addict he should have created a trust and put the money there and had a lawyer provided to pay for certain things. That's what he should have did. But he
just found her another guardian at that stage.
The trust lawyer would have been the guardian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so they make up in the book. So that was good.
Mm-hmm. That was real good. I'm mad as hell at the DA. He's stupid.
It didn't go that far.
It went far enough for her to get fired.
The agency fired her.
Yes, but the agency is the one who gives her assignments.
Yeah.
So she got fired.
Yeah.
Because her next assignment that probably was lined up was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because she sounded like a traveling nurse.
And it was getting to the end of her contract. So I think they were kind of just like, we're just gonna like wipe our hands.
Yeah, we're not gonna deal with this. All right. So, but it sounds like an interesting book. I might read it.
It's a book. Like I've read a couple others in that line. Like her brother has a story too. And it's a pretty good series.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this up. My last book is Billy and the Russian Beast by Theodora Taylor. So we have Billy, and she's an accountant. Now, the trifling person in her story is her brother. So her brother is like a D-list professional football player. And he's in the middle of a divorce. He's a gambler. And she has been managing his money to make sure that he could pay his child support and have money to live. Like she got him on an allowance, right? Because that's the only way he can make his obligations because he is not good with money. So she gets a call. Her brother was gambling at this private place. Like it's a private thing, high rollers. And it's run by this Russian guy, Cheslav Rustinov. And Cheslav has a thing for the sister. It's like he got a thing for her. So basically what happened was the trifling ass brother basically sold his sister out to Cheslov. I'm probably saying his name wrong and I apologize, for 50 grand. So he tells us that he comes up with this huge dramatic story saying how he's $500,000 in debt and all of this stuff to this guy. And, you know, the Russian is like, if you spend, you know, this amount of time with me, you know, I'll let your brother off for the money or whatever. And she's thinking, if I liquidate all my assets, I still won't have quite enough to pay him off and all of this stuff because the brothers certainly don't have the money. So she ends up, this is a quarantine book. So they end up in quarantine. She's also supposed to spend a weekend, but they end up in quarantine together because this is a Quarantales.
You know, I keep saying it's too soon for that. I haven't been able to read a book yet with that theme.
Mm-hmm. So it's a Quarantales, and they end up together. Obviously, some stuff go down, and she ends up finding out about what the brother did, and she cut him off. Because I'm like, here you have somebody who's managing your money so that you have money, and you resent her for stopping you from spending your money. You are a D-list football player. It's not like he on the starting lineup. He ain't bringing in millions and millions.
Right. Sprite is not going to be getting him to do any endorsements.
And it's not like he's young. He's not 22. And he's in the middle of a divorce. So he got alimony and child support he got to pay. And he's out here mad at his sister for making sure he has a roof over his head. He resents her for it. Like it's her fault. He couldn't be better or do better. I'm real mad, but it's a great book. It's a short read. It's part of her Quarantales series. It's 3 short books. This one is my actual favorite. We did review the 3rd in the series. That was Goldie and the 3 Bears earlier in last year. So I will link that review here as well for you guys to check it out. But Billy and the Russian Beast was my favorite. I loved it. It's a great book.
It sounds good. I may have to look into it. I didn't care for the Goldie and the 3 Bears book, but this one sounds like it's really good.
Yeah, this one was really good. I wanted to fight the brother. I wanted to fight him. He was so trifling. But, you know, as we said, lots of great books here. You know, like, subscribe, comment about what your favorite crazy, trifling, you just want to punch them in the throat, family members in your favorite romance novel. Let us know. Hit us up. We're always looking for good books, and we do like a trifling story.
Oh, and I mean, if you have a real life trifling family member story you would like to share, we're nosy. We're interested in those too.
All right. You guys have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you later.